Now we would like to move to panel discussion, 5 years till 2030. May I ask the panelists to please go up on the stage. For session 1, how severe is climate change? This is the topic. We need to understand the impacts of climate change and accelerate the countermeasures. Now, let me introduce the panelists. From Amundi, Japan, Mr. Yasunori Iwanaga. From Kyoto University of Disaster Prevention Research Institute, Professor Nobuhito Mori, former professional baseball player and president and CEO of Yuki Saito Company, Mr. Yuki Saito. And from Japan Agricultural News, Mr. Takanori Okabe. The moderator is from the REI, Ms. Tomomi Hirakami. May I hand over to you?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tomomi Hirakami. I'll be moderating session 1. This summer, once again, brought extremely hot days across Japan. In August, the temperature reached 41.8 degrees centigrade in East Sasaki City, Gunma Prefecture, breaking the record for the highest temperature ever observed in Japan. Such extreme weather is no longer a future risk. It is already impacting our daily lives and society. Could we have this slide, please? If you could turn to look at this graph. From year to year, temperature is going up. Last year, in 2024, the global annual average temperature reached the highest level on record. And this summer, numerous regions across Japan also set new temperature records. According to the meteorological agency, the top 5 are those that have been recorded this year. Global warming is undoubtedly progressing and accelerating. In this session, we will explore how climate change is already affecting our daily lives and industries, and if countermeasures are delayed, what will be the negative impact and how much will it be in terms of scope, and how much do we need to accelerate? We'd like to think in terms of scientific knowledge and experience on stage from agriculture, science, finance, from different fields. We have speakers, and we would like to have them share reality in their respective positions to think about how we move forward in the future. So let me introduce the speakers. First, Mr. Okabe from Japan Agricultural News. Agriculture is the foundation of our lives, and it is also one of the industries most vulnerable to climate and environmental changes. Japan Agricultural News reports from the ground, but they are working on the decarbonization of agriculture. So could you introduce yourself and your endeavors?
Thank you very much for the introduction. I am Okabe from the Japan Agricultural News. So how many of you have read our newspaper, the Japan Agricultural News? I'm happy to see many hands being raised. So as the name suggests, we are the Japan's only daily agricultural newspaper. We are publishing about 250 circulations. We're the largest. And 2 years from now, we are to mark a 100th anniversary. Now, recently, we are strengthening the coverage related to climate change impacts on agriculture. And what are shown on the screen is very limited, like impact from the hot heat, and also developing a new variety, which is tolerant to high heat. And also, we cover a technology that leads to adaptation and mitigation. And when we looked in past 2 years, the articles of the that have the word of climate change was 1759, but the Asahi Shimbun had a different number. So we thought that we were good. But the one Asahi article only used the term hot heat 744 times. We used the term 11,219. So we are covering the situation in a really extensive and intensive manner. And so this is because the impacts of climate change, particularly global warming and high temperature, are big. And there is a growing visibility of climate change impacts and increasing demands for reducing agriculture's environmental burden and decarbonization. And in response to that, we started a consortium called MIDORI GX Lab. Literally, it's a Green GX Lab. We established that in 2024. The idea is for us to go beyond news coverage and more directly help farmers solving their challenges. And every month, we're having an online seminar or exchange events. And farmers can learn about the countermeasures, and also we help in networking. And also, there are many challenges that cannot be solved only by agricultural sector. So we are hoping to become a platform to foster collaboration between municipalities and companies. And policy proposals are also being made. Today, the membership is 1,400. We believe that we are the largest of the kind. And I write news articles, and I've been covering issues, particularly on the farming in relation to climate change, but I've been involved in Midori Lab since last year, and I gained understanding about the importance of this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The impact of what comes from the grounds in agriculture and endeavors going forward have been spoken about. You're a fan of Japan fighters. Right next to you, you have a former professional baseball player, Mr. Yuki Saito. In the 2006 Koshien Championship, he became a national sensation as the handkerchief prince, later playing for Waseda University and Hokkaido and Nippon Ham Fighters. Since retiring from professional baseball, he has been engaged in community development and environmental conservation through sports. Can you talk about your present activities, please?
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, but let me introduce myself nonetheless. There will be people who are from overseas, so let me very briefly explain about myself. When I was a high school student, there was high school baseball tournament, and I was the pitcher of my team. I had the longest ever duration of pitching at the Koshien Stadium, and it was very hot in those years, but it is even hotter today. But I would also like to introduce to you what Japan High School Baseball Federation is doing in trying to cope with the heat. Now, the baseball players tend to use their sleeves to have their perspiration. But I used my handkerchief, so I was often called the Prince Handkerchief. And I was always called the Prince, so I was having my heyday at the time. Now, I have been the professional baseball player for 11 years, but I have already retired. What I am doing now is I am building a baseball stadium for children. How many of you have seen the movie Field of Dreams? It seems many of you have seen the movie. I'm trying to become a Kevin Costner to build a baseball stadium for children. Now, Kevin Costner have turned the cornfield into stadium. But the place I have found was in Naganuma town of Hokkaido. It is green right now, but 20 years ago, it used to be a baseball park. But when I went there, it was a waste dumping site. So it was just grass and waste and rubbish. But what have gone wild and been abandoned, it will be a dumping site for the citizens immediately. So I have tried to revive the place to once again build a baseball stadium. And I want to have natural grass, natural turf to be planted. Of course, it is costly, but in the next town, there was a natural turf field about 10 times as large as Tokyo Dome Stadium. And I thought that as a baseball player, what I could dream of is to create the natural turf, natural grass field. And now I have another company called the Saito Green. And this is a company which started from building baseball stadium. And I am truly thinking to plant the natural grass, natural turf everywhere in the world. With having the green turf, the natural green turf, it is much more comfortable. And the temperature is lower compared to artificial turf. And for athletes, it will be more comfortable and less stress on their bodies. And I am trying to look at the ballparks and grounds and gardens and parks everywhere in Japan. And I'm trying to turn to natural turf, natural grass. I used to grow in a hometown which was very hot during the summer, and I wanted to have the green turf to be planted everywhere. Thank you.
I saw the stadium on YouTube, and it's a very exciting place, and it's a place that I would like everyone to go and see. Next, Professor Mori from Kyoto University and Yokohama National University. Professor Mori is one of the founding members of the Extreme Weather Attribution Center established this year. His research focuses on scientifically quantifying the extent to which global warming influences extreme weather events. So could you introduce the center and its work? Thank you very much. My name is Mori from Kyoto University. Saito-san's act was very good, so I'm a poor actor to follow his act. I don't think I can follow his act. And this is what I wanted to show you. And Hirakami-san had shown this earlier, and it's like the global temperature. It's very similar to that. Japan's this is the distribution of summer temperature distribution. The blue line is the average for several years. The black line, that is the actual temperature for each year. And it is going upwards toward the right. Maybe 10 or 20 years, you can see it's an oscillation in the past 10 or 20 years. Our research is such that the red global warming trend, the slow change, and the blue line, or the black line, every year, or in terms of several years, we're seeing changes and how they are divided. And is the heat this year, and in the result of global warming, we're trying to quantify that. We've created a scientific system to allow us to do that. So rather than on behalf of the Kyoto University, I'd like to talk about the Extreme Weather Attribution Center. So my awareness is that I was sent here by the center. The center was launched in May. Tokyo University and Kyoto University had several climatologists gather to discuss extreme weather and to what extent the global warming contributes to that, and how much a percentage is the impact of global warming. A quantitative analysis would be done as soon as possible, within 1 week or 10 days, to analyze that and to convey that to the media, and through the media to communicate that the impact of global warming is this strong. And the Weather Attribution Center is something that has no backdrop. JCLP has provided tremendous support. So I'd like to discuss that more in detail later on. Thank you very much. Up until now, what took several months for verification, the impacts of global warming can be analyzed in 7 days to 10 days. So the way the media reports probably will change. Last, Mr. Iwanaga from Amundi, Japan. Mr. Iwanaga is also an active member of the Asia Investor Group on Climate Change, AIGCC. So between Amundi, Japan, and AIGC, could you give us an introduction, please?
Thank you for the kind introduction. Good afternoon. This is Iwanaga from Amundi, Japan. Amundi is an asset management company in France and has the largest asset under management in Europe. The assets that are being entrusted by individuals and also as a pension funds, just like we see in Japan, and we do manage those the money being entrusted for us. We are a French company or European company, so economic return is something important, and lending money to our customers. From the societal point of view, I believe there is a proper role to be played as a financial institution. And those are the tenets that we always keep in mind in our business. In the world of finance, there are a widespread thought and thinking that we need to do something to counter climate change. Now, it was suggested earlier that data matters. We need to work not only on our own, but we need to collaborate with the other companies in the industry. And AIGCC is one of such groupings, which is Asia Investment Group on Climate Change. So thinking about climate change and lower carbon to make more investments into this area. As was mentioned earlier, what are the opportunities being presented there? We need to look at how we can approach the real economy from this perspective. In 11 markets in Asia, we have 80 or more financial institutions being the member of the AIGCC. And $36 trillion, so 5,400 trillion yen worth of assets under management, taking all the members of the AIGCC together. So we are trying to enhance our awareness against the climate change, and I would like to continue to make comments from financial institution and economic point of view.
AIGC last year in December put out a report on economic cost of climate change. Perhaps we could hear about that more in detail later as well. So from here, I'd like to hear your perspectives on how climate change is being felt in recent years. Mr. Okabe, this year we saw concerns over rice shortage and price increases. It has been noted that extreme heat and other weather conditions played a role. From your perspective, observing the agricultural sector, how do you see the impacts of climate change on agriculture, please?
Thank you. So agriculture is one of the industries where the impacts are most visible and serious. That's what I'm always trying to promote. If you can have our slide up. Yes, as shown here, with the abnormal heat, many crops are seeing the reduced yields and lowering of quality. So impacts are there. For example, rice. When it becomes hotter, like shown on the slide, right-hand side, can you see that the rice is gotten white and cloudy? Rice become white and cloudy, and this is called white immature grains. These grains crack easily during milling. And so what that means is that the edible volume becomes smaller compared to the yield. And also, the higher temperature may even prevent rice producing grains. And higher temperature also make pest and disease outbreak more likely. So those are actually one of the factors behind Reiwa era's rice riot or rice panic that we're now experiencing. And that is what is, we believe. 30 years ago, there was a Heisei's rice riot because of the cold weather, and that was because of the once in multiple years of the cold weather, and so after that time, the issue was resolved like quickly. But at this time, because the issue is because of the hot weather, the situation may prolong, and also the impact is seen also in different vegetables as well. Now you can see a photo there. You can see that the quality of the vegetables are not good, and it doesn't look good as well, and also the livestock also get unhealthy, and the production of the milk could go lower, and the egg price is also high. So this is because of the heat fatigue of the chickens, the eggs are becoming less produced. So I think we can understand that the problems are not only of the farmers, but the livelihoods are also being impacted. So agriculture and food is directly linked. So through the food, everybody has become a party involved. So rather than just thinking that the food becomes pricey, please do recognize that what are behind the issue is climate change. And also, the heat stroke among the farmers is also a severe issue. Every year, around 30 people lose their lives. And this year, only in June and July, 15 people lost their lives. So working in summer itself has become a really tough task to do. So next slide. Yes, this is the result of the survey that we conduct. We use LINE platform to conduct survey to hear from our readers. 97% of the farmers said that they are impacted by climate change, and 71% said that impacts are severe. In the center, there's another article. It says that 80% of the farmers say that the production volume or yield is to go down because of the heat and water issue. And on the right-hand side, there's a different one. So from the different crops or the livestock, we see that there are issues happening from the climate change. Now, from those results, we can conclude that the climate change is the biggest challenge for Japan's agriculture today. So there is discussion about the increasing production of rice, but without thinking about climate change, the discussion of production is
rice becoming white or shine muscat grapes have shown some damage. So with progressive climate change, there's talk of a food crisis. Maybe moderately such changes are beginning. We have come to the stage where we have to adapt, and we have to take steps to prevent the environment from degrading further. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Saito, in the world of sports, dealing with heat has become a major challenge. Based on your own experience, recent activities, what changes have you observed?
Thank you for the question. As an athlete, as I have already mentioned about high school baseball, 19 years ago, when I was a pitcher for my school's team, I have pitched for 15 the innings, and then 19 innings again. But I was able to do that. I was barely able to do that. It was hot at that time, but today it is even hotter. To play a ball during the daytime will be almost impossible. And the Japan High School Baseball Federation have adopted a two-part system. So very early in the morning, the game will start, and just 2 games, and there will be a break during the lunchtime. And then when it gets darker and cooler, 2 more games. And that has lessened the burden on the players, because they are able to change as the inning progresses. The pitcher will be able to go back to the bench, and it is cooler on the pitching the mound because the wind blows. But if you are in the outer field, it is very hot, especially from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It is concrete and it is very hot. And if you can have green turf instead of concrete, it will be very different. So for the baseball, the community, they're trying to change the behavior as well as the system itself. If it is too hot and asphalt gets heated, I was thinking to bring solutions. So I am truly serious in trying to change the whole field into natural grass for the whole world.
So you're trying to adapt to the heat through grass in Koshien Stadium. Maybe where there's grass, you feel it's cooler. If we could cover the entire earth with grass, that's something I imagine.
So at Saito Green, you who have the playground equipments as well as public parks and kindergarten playgrounds to be turned into natural grass. Are there changes in the behavior of children? Yes, this is exactly what I'm trying to do. When the children touches the playground equipment, it is too hot to touch. They cannot really play during the daytime. So they may have to stay home and not be able to play outdoors. But I would like to develop equipments which would not too hot for children to touch. And if children are to play during the nighttime, it is rather risky and dangerous. So I'm trying to think of safer systems to be developed.
Compared to when we were children, the environment has drastically changed. Iwanaga-san, I understand that your son plays sports. Compared to when you were a child, what changes do you notice in terms of the sporting environment?
Thank you for the question. Yes, my son plays football. And you need to take time to drink water. That is officially being recognized. Then for all children, it is 15 minutes being taken. And when the temperature goes beyond 30 degrees Celsius, then you need to have time to drink the water. But it is still very hot. So the environment is changing very rapidly. And so, as Mr. Saito has said, for baseball, 7 innings is something being considered. In the next Olympic Games, it is rumored that instead of 9 innings, it will be lessened to 7 innings for baseball game. The rules have to change. People may criticize that it is not genuine baseball, but as times change and climate changes, we need to change the system itself.
We've listened to talk about the different impacts. This summer was extremely hot. Mori-san, on television, when we look at the weather report, there's talk of a phenomenon. Such short-term factors are being identified, this extreme heat and climate change. What is the relationship between the two? Yes, thank you very much. This year, people talk about what about the heat this year, and what about the impact of climate change on torrential rains? And for about 5 to 20 years, these were questions that we got. We cannot say that categorically that it's all the impact of climate change. We tended to be very ambiguous, saying we think there's some impact of global warming. At the Attribution Center, we want to have scientific facts so that we can explain properly. And that is how we have proceeded with work there. Do you have slides there? And so this is details, but what we are looking at here is the horizontal axis is this year towards later July, when we recorded high temperature. That's temperature at 1,500 meters. And so there's a difference between the ground level and the 1,500 meters altitude. And you might think the temperature is a little low, but there is a difference. And as to what percentage this occurs, the frequency is shown here. The bold blue line is where we have done simulation of climate change. We used supercomputers, and we have simulated a hypothetical Earth, and we did a simulation. And the blue line is when there's no greenhouse gas, and the red line is the present 2025 July simulated temperature. And if you look at this, you will clearly see that the peak is different. The blue line is such that this is where there is no global GHGs, and the red line is one which simulates the present climate conditions toward the right. So the average is moving clearly, and what is happening, we emitted in terms of greenhouse gas brings about this much change in temperature, and that is clear. That's one point. And this is a bell-shaped curve, and what is the width of this bell? That's the fluctuations. There are cold summers and hot summers. Yearly fluctuations are very important. So if we include that, we get a bell-shaped curve. And this year, what we observed in 2025 was 1,500 meters altitude. The blue line is without greenhouse gases, so there's no global warming. And even if we include the fluctuations, we cannot see what we saw for the red line. The red line is such that the tail, 3 to 4%, with a 3 to 4% probability, a high temperature of the kind that we saw this year can be potentially seen. And so we've been able to evaluate that. With the global warming manifesting itself, that led to the heat in 2025. And I would like to skip over this because of lack of time. What is the cloudy, fuzzy shape in the back? Perhaps you have seen El Nino and other phenomenon. There's a change in atmosphere and sea temperature. We've considered all of this. We've generated the blue line and red line based on this. And what we have come to know through this evaluation is such. This is the July hypertemperature example. The bell-shaped distribution was used to calculate probability, and as a result, in 2025 July, extreme heat was when there is no GHGs, it occurs only once in 1,000 years. If we look at the July conditions, the percentage increases to 3.6%. So there's a more than one-digit change in frequency. And so this year in July, the kind of heat that we saw is something that would happen once in 30 years. And that became clear through our analysis. And that's our recent results. We've done this in August and throughout the summer. And what we're preparing for is that starting next year, we want to do the same with regard to torrential heavy rains, floods and typhoons and extreme phenomenon. We want to create a system which incorporates all of this. Thank you very much. Even without global warming, a hot summer can happen, but the heat of the kind we saw this year could not happen without climate change. The percentage is zero, close to zero, and there's a possibility that the heat that we saw this year will be repeated in the future. As we saw show earlier, the long-term trend is upward, so the average will continue to increase, and the width will also change. So the high temperature event This year was one of a kind that happens once in 30 years. 2 years from now, maybe it will happen once in 20 years and once in 10 years. It's not an accurate figure, but we predict that that might happen. Thank you very much. So from here, we'd like to talk about long-term trends. We'd like to look at the economy. AIGCC last year in October put out a report on economic risk of climate change. Could we hear about this, Mr. Iwanaga, please?
Yes. Now, normally, as Professor Mori has mentioned, now what is happening around us because of climate change? Of course, it is now becoming a more important issue and closer to our hearts. But in your minds, how is it connected to the economy and the sales turnover for the businesses? You may not readily see the direct relationship. There are different climate change impacts. The sea, the surface rises, as well as the torrential rains and extreme weathers are happening. But sometimes businesses would have to suspend their business, and there will be no sales whatever for the companies, because if you cannot produce and manufacture, and the same goes for the sports industry, it is too hot to move around, or to have the farming operation out in the field would become impossible. Nobody will be able to take any activity outside if it is too hot outdoors. And that is what is being referred to in our report. And now, in 2024 August, there were many typhoons, and the productive activities in Japan has gone down by 3.3 percentage points because value-added activities were impossible because of the typhoons. And in the most recent report coming from AIGCC, we have undertaken two scenarios. One scenario says that various companies are coming up with the targets of net zero to be achieved by 2050 in accordance with the Paris Agreement, and the NDCs are being submitted. So what happens if it goes as planned? But the other scenario is if everyone collaborates with each other and if they accelerate and speed up the actions against climate change, more constructive scenario was created. So how can we change our behaviors and our actions? And that was also being studied. Now, in case of Japan, every year, GDP, the economic activities results, how much of a value added has been seen every year. Now, from now onwards to the year 2050, in the longer term, every year, if the climate change impact happens and accumulates, what we have planned cannot be achieved. In 2030, it will be minus 4 percentage points, and in 2040, it will be minus 7%, and in 2050, minus 9%. And the negative figures, if we add up by the year 2050, to 952 trillion yen worth. So right now, the GDP could be affected 1.5 times as large. So not only our economic activities, but our everyday life, and also the revenue coming to the households could also be negatively impacted. So as Professor Mori has been discussing, when we look at the environment and the climate changing structure-wise, and that would have significant impact on the economy itself. So we need to take measures at the early stage. That is what is suggested by our report.
In the report, the physical climate risks, if we consider that in 250 per person annually, 600,000 of income would be reduced, and that was shocking.
So, as a consequence, the economy is premised upon the environment surrounding us. We need to think thoroughly of that, and that is important.
In terms of climate change measures, it's costly. Inevitably, in the long run, doing nothing would lead to even further costs, yes?
Yes, exactly. And we are now discussing about risks. And in the world of investment, we should also think about opportunities. And Shelley from CDP has already mentioned during her presentation, in the climate change countermeasures, there are new demands being born, new markets being born, because if you invest $1, there will be $12 worth of return are being obtained. So how to link the climate change issues to business opportunities, that is, I believe, is what is required.
Mori-san, respective countries, if they continue the present measures, business as usual would lead to a 3 degrees C increase in temperature. If global warming continues to accelerate, what additional risks are we likely to face? Thank you very much. In my self-introduction, I forgot to say that normally from 2050 to 2100, climate change prediction is what I do, and the impact of that is what I do research on. And our research results show that from about 2050, major impacts would become more evident. It will become clearer. If it's up to 2 degrees centigrade, annual fluctuations are large in the case of temperature. So the incremental portion of global warming cannot be seen. But if it goes to 2 degrees, the average temperature supersedes the fluctuations. So the difference will become clearer. That is what we've just seen in the 10 years of research. 3 degrees is such that global warming impact will be very evident. And what impact is this? Including agriculture. As a natural phenomenon, what we'll see is that temperature will go up and rain. There'll be heavy rains, torrential rains. If there's a 1 degree rise in temperature, over 7% increase in torrential rains. So if it increases 3 degrees, the rainfall will be such that there'll be an increase of over 20%, and flood risks will rise as a result of this. It will not be contained to 20%. In the case of floods, over 50% will be what we'll see if the temperature rises 3 degrees. And also typhoons. For Japan, in terms of disasters, typhoons are very important. In the future, warm climatic conditions, there'll be a less number of typhoons generated. That's good in terms of less risk. The number of typhoons will decrease, but on the other hand, there'll be very strong typhoons, which will be on the increase. So once in a while, typhoons will make landfall, but it will be a very powerful typhoon in terms of risks. It will exceed the present natural disaster risk. That is something which has become clear. And snow is another factor. Snow will be reduced, and this is related to agriculture. Where there's less snow in the wintertime, in the springtime, there'll be less water available, water resource available, and it will affect rice, growing of rice. And so from natural phenomenon to human activities and economic activities, like a supply chain, the impact will be felt in turn. And so it's very hard to say how much the impact will be, but the individual impact is becoming clearer for Japan as a whole. What is the impact and what will be the loss and damage? This is something that we are in the midst of studying at the moment. So it's a pretty serious impact that we'll be seeing, disasters and impact on agriculture, which will affect our food life. Now, if you could show the slide. This is what the IPCC shows, GHG emission and rise in temperature. And as can be seen from this graph, If we do the present policies business as usual, the increase in temperature will be close to 3 degrees. The most recent NDC, even if we reflect that, it'll exceed 2 degrees. 2 degrees. To suppress the impact of climate change, it's important that we contain the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. By 2030, global GHG emissions would need to be halved, and by 2050, net zero has to be achieved. So major changes will be required in the short run. To exceed 1.5 degrees cannot be avoided, but to contain the impact to as small as possible and to bring us back to 1.5 degrees is scientifically possible, it is said. And most of the resolutions for this purpose is available within our hands. And so we'd like to talk about the efforts made in different sectors based on this backdrop. Okabe-san, in agriculture, mitigation and adaptation efforts, what are the challenges and what are the schemes which are necessary? Thank you very much for the slide.
Thank you very much. So as I was listening to Dr. Mori's presentation, well, I do cover the natural disasters more often than before. That was I remembered as I was listening. And so going forward, we maybe have to covering those topics every day. Now about the climate actions. There are like mitigation and adaptation efforts being made. Farmers are not just sitting idle. Please show the screen slide on the screen. Yes, thank you very much. So against the high heat, in order to avoid the reduction of income, there are many adaptations measures against the high temperature that include development of heat-tolerant varieties and usage of them, and also using light-blocking nets for greenhouse and mist cooling or fans to cool the livestock are being done, for example. And there are many measures being taken. And on the right-hand side, there are mitigation measures, and many technology are used in the agricultural field. I understand that they are very much interested in solar sharing, which is farming under solar panels, but there are other technology means as well. For example, there is a extension of a midsummer drainage to reduce methane emission from rice paddy cultivation. So by by extending midsummer drainage period, the methane emission can be reduced. 50,000 hectare field was applied with this practice. This is equivalent to 4% of the rice field used for the rice growing. And also, the biochar is also used. This is the means to store CO2 underground. And also, the feed to reduce methane from cattle bulb are also being used. So when we think about it, the agriculture is the industry with potential toward decarbonization. However, still, the measures for both mitigation and adaptation are lagging. And what are the bottleneck? That is cost. In order to implement new technology, that means costs. And also, the agriculture is susceptible to natural environment. So same technology may be effective one place, but it may not be effective in another place. So there are risks such as yield reduction, and the cost transfer is not also being able to be done effectively. And when it comes to mitigation, because the farmers are busy enough with the adaptation, so many find it difficult to start working on the mitigation. So what I like to see is to have consumers to have stronger awareness, especially about the cost to solve those issues related to climate change, because food is related to everybody. So between consumers and the farmers and the businesses, I believe that the costs need to be shared. For example, by consumers purchasing the produce or products from the producer who are working on those measures. I think that would be important. And also, for those products under the measures to be distributed, they can't be done only by the farmers or agriculture industry. So I like to see more investment being made from the businesses. That's what I'm constantly promoting. And also, if we can, I think, change the mindset, seeing that agriculture is an industry which can contribute to decarbonization efforts so that they can have pride. And with this message or mindset, I think that the understanding for cost sharing could also be gained. Thank you very much.
You talked about mitigation. Solar sharing is where you engage in agriculture and you generate using electricity using solar panels in Japan in order to increase renewable energy. There are high expectations of this approach for the farming households. What are the merits of doing this?
Yes, for the farmers, the stable income can be expected from this practice. So the products under well, in addition to the products, well, the farmers can gain income from power generation, and it helps smaller producers and also new farmers. It would make their work easier.
In Japan, there are lots of farmland which is abandoned, and continuing farming is difficult, it is said. And this will lead to sustainability of farming households, we hope. As consumers, we want to support the farmers and to buy agricultural products. This is important action.
Yes, like there are labels, like MAF or the Ministry of Agriculture, Fishery and Forestry does have the system to label the products with those measures being applied. So maybe I can encourage consumers to purchase products with those labels.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the slides. Mr. Saito, we understand you have a project in Hokkaido which focuses on environmental and ecosystem conservation. Could you tell us more about your initiatives?
Yes. I have not started building baseball parks to try to do good for the environment. I wanted to create a better baseball parks for the children, and that was my starting point. And that has led to something which is much more friendlier to the environment and to the people. So the land which had been abandoned, I have started planting grass, and it became green. And the grounds, which was a dumping site for rubbish, now it has been turned and revived. And there were very dirty river and brooks. I have collaborated with the people in the community to try to revive the river into cleaner the water. So not only in Hokkaido, but I would like to spread this activity everywhere in the world, because there are many places which could be revived and being transformed. Now, what we are trying to do for the baseball parks, this has been put into news, and people in the other communities have come to think that if Saito is doing these activities, we should do the same in our own community, and that could change. That could lead to transformation of the whole community in different places. Now, I have a question: professional sports or the events to be planned and implemented, and then something like a dome park having a roof will be much more convenient. But what we are trying to do is to build baseball parks with natural grass. In the world of sports, what should we do from now onwards which would lead to better environment for us?
You've given me a very difficult question all of a sudden. Each approach is very important. The target is not just one. Global warming is important, but natural environment is also important. So nature positive, the so-called nature positive is good. Multifaceted efforts for positive effects. If you continue, that should be good. It's not one approach for one target. You need to think about what are the benefits are in total, and the other factor is children. Maybe it's hard to say this, but if we target 2050, the present children's generation is very important. So for them to be interested and for these children to be positive in facing this issue is very important. And so what you're doing, Mr. Saito, is very good indeed.
Thank you very much. We are working together with children to build a baseball park, and I hope that these kind of activities will spread to the whole nation. When we were small, we always played outdoors, and I would like to continue to see children playing outdoors.
I just remembered that 3 years ago, there's someone who retired, a professor called Kaoru Takara, who was next door to me in my office. And I know her very well. And if you could invite her to teach children, she can talk about science, and you can talk about the baseball. And so that's Tatsu Takano. And so please avail yourself of this person. Saito-san's approach is for children to play baseball and have a place of comfort, and also create fences and benches with the people of the community. So as a result, it's good for the environment and it's good for nature. And I think that is very wonderful. And we hope that this kind of activity would spread to other parts of the country. I'd like to talk about the economy. Mr. Iwanaga. In order to resolve climate change, we need to transition the economy as well. As an investor, what are you approaching? What endeavors are you making?
Now, economic activities are being done by companies, and we have stocks as well as bonds being issued by the companies, and we invest into those products and bring back return for the investors. As shareholders, at the shareholders' general meeting, we can vote to any proposal made by the company, whether we are in favor or whether we are against those proposals. So we will be able to encourage companies to turn more towards activities and businesses which are friendlier to the environment and nature. And when we think about remuneration for the board executives, those activities which are good for the society and for the environment should also be reflected into the calculation. When it comes to cost, there are difficulties, but what is happening gradually is the carbon credits. We have J-credit system in Japan, and we have joint crediting mechanism on a bilateral basis to try to set a price for carbon. And then if we reduce carbon emissions, that would lead to revenues. And farms have biochar activities, and you have already good track record to do good for the environment. So with economy and environment being linked together, we are perhaps going towards a better direction that we should aim for.
Today, we have a lot of participants from business, so if we could collaborate together, I think that would be good. Time is quickly running out, so I'd like to ask each of our speakers to share a brief closing report, your thoughts and resolve on moving forward, or message to the audience. Okabe-san first, please.
Thank you very much. So already there is a strong impact from climate change on the agriculture. But actually, through food, this is also about your life. And actually, feel kind of frustrated that this is not known to many people. And that's one thing. And also, the problems faced by agriculture is not only can be solved by the agriculture industry alone. So, for example, a consumer can support agriculture or farmers by purchasing products which are applied with the climate measures. And for the food, when it comes to food, you can make choices 3 times. And also, like you to support overall efforts in the agriculture sector. And also, I believe that the collaboration among various actors is very needed. And our company is like to contribute also through the MIDORI GX Lab. So if you are interested, please approach us. Thank you very much.
Saito-san.
So, one word, please, Mr. Saito. Thank you very much for, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. Saito Yuki, from a very small age, I very much aspired to become a professional baseball player. I never dreamed that I would become a person like I am today. But by building baseball park and involve the different people to participate, and the environment for all the children in the future must be protected and maintained, and we would like to share the same thinking with the children for the future as well, so that we will be able to improve the environment around us. I have started by building the baseball park, but I have launched the green endeavors, and I would like to become a Kevin Costner for the good for the environment.
Mori-san, please. Thank you very much for having me today. Our main work is predicting, forecasting the future. If temperature rises beyond 2 degrees, a severe future looms. And that is what we're seeing. The critical point is 2 degrees. Whether we can achieve 1.2 degrees, 1.5 degrees or 2 degrees, plus minus 10 years is the crucial point. Minus 10 years, 2040, if we achieve 1.5 to 2 degrees, whether we can achieve that or not will impact the future of the entire Earth. So 2040 is such that we only have 15 years to go. So we have people from the industry in large numbers here. And so in 15 years from now, to what extent we can realize mitigation measures, it's not whether we can do it or not, it's the amount which counts. How much can we reduce? That is very critical. So we hope that you will understand this, and we will continue to work hard. And if mitigation is not realized, these things will happen. These are things that we'd like to communicate about what would happen if mitigation is not achieved. And this summer's rain and high temperature and the quantitative impact of global warming is what we want to demonstrate. We want to collaborate so that we can conduct, mitigate, and adaptations as 2 wheels on an axle. So thank you very much.
So, Mr. Iwanaga, please. Yes. Asset management may not be that familiar for many of you in the audience, but we need to think about our customers and also the businesses that we invest in. And as we collaborate, we would like to move forward together towards net zero. Thank you.
Thank you to all. We hope today's discussion will inspire you to see climate change as a personal issue and take ownership and to take concrete action starting today. Let us think so that we can create a better environment. Could we have a hand for those on stage who have engaged in a wonderful discussion today? Thank you. Thank you very much to the panelists. Please return to your seats. The impact of climate change on sports and agriculture in the mid to long term, there's a major impact in terms of the economy. And through event attribution science, this is there is evidence. In various sectors, various approaches are underway, and that has been introduced. Thank you very much.